Hey, welcome back or welcome to my channel, Indieauthor Jill, where I read and review Indieauthor books. Real quick, this book of Perfect Spirit is the one we're looking at today by Erik Tucsok. No, it is not one of the 100 books I got for this year. This is a book Erik sent to me so that he could, with the intent that I might read it and maybe give it a review. I actually read the book in December, so it's not taking away from any of these. I do have a video that's coming out today that where I picked my first book from here, so definitely go check out that video and see which book I chose. I will be starting that one today. But yeah, this one, when throughout December, I just took some time off to read what I wanted and to spend time with family and take care of my health. And I wasn't sure I was going to do a video on this one because, like I've said in previous videos, I won't do a video on a book if I don't enjoy it, simply because it doesn't serve the author in any way, and that's the whole point of these videos, is to serve the authors and help them get their the word for their books out. And so yeah, if I didn't like the book, I wouldn't be reviewing it, period. Now, if you're an author, you know that writing a 300, 400, 500 page book is so much easier than writing the little paragraph blurb that goes on the back of it. And there are some people that are psychopaths and they actually enjoy writing the blurb. I'm not one of those people. But the blurb for this one is: a child burdened with too much power, a man overlooked by fate. Together they walk a fractured world, searching for truth in a land that offers only absolutes. This mystical duology weaves the stories of Annie, a spirited girl bound to an ancient lineage, and Fylorn, an archaeologist pulled into the echoes of his forgotten past. When Annie stumbles upon an infant dragon, her journey becomes one of inner reckoning. While blending raw emotion with high fantasy, of Perfect Spirit is a coming-of-age tale steeped in legacy, wild lands, and the relentless pull of destiny. For those who dare to question the black and white, the price of truth is never what it seems. So, yeah. I don't know how to write this any better, this blurb. On one hand, I don't know how to write it any better. On the other hand, I feel like it doesn't do enough for the book. It doesn't do the book justice. One thing I will say, the biggest gripe I have is no table of contents. I like the table of contents because when I'm trying to read a book, a lot of times what I'll do is I kind of divide it up. I don't necessarily read until I'm done reading for the day or whatever. Now, in my lunch breaks at work, I'll read a chapter because I have about enough time to read a chapter on my lunch break, and that's it. So what I'll do is I'll look for how many chapters it has in it, and then I'll divide it up in chapters, because I'm not going to stop in the middle of a chapter. I'm not that much of a psychopath, okay? There are a few parts in here that I like. And they mostly have to do with the one that I like the most about Annie is where she looks at the. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me tell you what the story is about. Okay, so first of all, the story is about Annie and Fylorn. These two are very different people from very different walks of life. So the story starts off with presumably Annie's father, and I presume that because Erik, the author, describes him looking at her with a fatherly affection. So I assume this is her father. He is on a spectral hound. There are people in this world that are, they call them takers, tamers, or anchors, depending on who you're talking to. And basically, this is a person who has bonded with the spirit of an animal. Like literally, the animal has passed on and its spirit has entered through a wound that they are born with, called their rest. And the person can summon the beast out of them, and when the beast comes out of them, it becomes a tangible creature. So with the father, his was a helix hound, and the creature was big enough that he could ride on it, and he could, like, you can stroke its fur, and you know it can physically interact with others around it. And then it goes into its spirit form and goes into him if when it's ready to go into its rest. And with the world being very much against his kind, many of the adult anchors are tracked down and killed. And so they're after him, and he's got his infant daughter with him, and he straps his daughter to the hound and sends the hound on while he stands and fights his pursuers. The thing is that when the anchor dies, the spectral, its spirit goes on to its next existence, which is where many people in this world think that those spirits should go. So they seem to think that these takers, anchors, tamers, whatever, are defying nature by not allowing the spirit to go to its next existence. And so the baby does not have a spectral of herself, a spectral of her own yet, because she's just an infant. And the animal that dies has to decide, I guess the spirit has to decide that it wants to bond with that individual. But Annie kind of tumbles into a dry riverbed after her father dies, and the spectral that's carrying her dissipates because it's gone on to its next existence. So she ends up in a dry riverbed where an old man, Tucsok, finds her, and he reads the note saying that her name is Annie and where she's come from, and he realizes that she is most likely an anchor, and so he takes her in, and later on it's revealed that she is not the first anchor he has ever taken in and raised. Once the next chapter hits in chapter 2, or chapter 1, because you start off with a prologue. So chapter 1, and the girl is kind of, she's kind of getting into it early with her excuse me, with her guardian, and she tells him, "You're looking old today." And he says, "Dealing with you hasn't been the rejuvenating experience I was promised." And there was no real promise of rejuvenation. And then my favorite part with Fylorn is between him and his best friend Ram in chapter 17, where they have just left Fylorn's sister. And Ram asks Fylorn, "You think your sister sent us away so that she would never have to see us again?" Fylorn and Ram grew up with, well, it's Fylorn's sister, so, but Ram grew up around Fylorn and his sister, and there was a book. There was a space in the basement, in the cellar, where his father would not let Fylorn and his sister go. It was somewhere he kept secret. And at one point, Fylorn, after his parents pass away, his sister marries, and marries a very wealthy man. And Fylorn goes on to become a bit of an architect, and he's helping out with his friend with a dig site in a civilization that the dig site should be an old city devoted to Ram's people. And when they go in, Fylorn is not exactly sure what he's looking for, but Ram kind of looks around and he says, "Isn't that your family crest?" And Fylorn is like, "Why is my family crest all the way out here in a civilization that has nothing to do with my people?" And good question, honestly. And Fylorn translates it through use of a spiritual connection, is the best way I can describe it. And like the words just kind of come to his mind, even though it's written in a language he doesn't know. And so this makes him decide that he needs to return to the manor where he grew up and see if his father's tome is still there. There's a book or a journal of some sort that his parents used and read and wrote in, and he's convinced that there's information there. So he goes back to his childhood home and he finds it. And he has sold the manor, but the manor has been left abandoned. And then they are heading, he reads in the book and he realizes that there was some kind of deal between his family lineage and the gods, and that the family was not given what they were owed. And so he tells his... The cuckoo clock is going off. Usually I remember to silence that before starting these videos. Oh well. But he decides to go and seek out this a place where he can learn more about these gods that apparently owed his family something. Along the way, he and his friend Ram they're part of a convoy, and they find that they get kind of ambushed and his book goes missing. And so he decides, okay, now I've got to go see my sister and see if she knows anything before heading off to meet these gods. And so he goes off to meet with his sister, and they sit and talk for a bit, and then he gets to the point, and then she's like, yeah, you absolutely need to go and get that taken care of so that we can restore honor to our manor, and maybe you can start living there again. And he's like, he's like, well, what makes you think I want to live there? You know, he thinks she doesn't know it's been sold off. And she's like, well, it's been sitting empty all these years. And he says, wait, how do you know that? And she's like, my husband's the one that bought it, dummy. She's like, you think I'm going to let our childhood home just go to some stranger? No, not happening. But I love Ram's comment of, you think your sister sent us away so she'd never have to see us again? Because, I mean, if that's not sibling love, you know. I know with my siblings, we like to help each other out, and we like to be kind to each other, but we also really, really enjoy picking on each other and giving each other a hard time. But yeah, I like that this relationship between Fylorn and his sister and Ram. And Ram is just his best friend, but you could easily forget that there are two different races and that they're not brothers because the way they go at each other sometimes, both with helping each other and with picking on each other. And it's very reminiscent of my brothers with their friends who were practically brothers growing up. And there's obviously a distance between Fylorn and his sister, but there's also a bond there that, like, anytime he comes to visit, she's like, yes, show him in, and she makes sure that dinner is set for him, and she'll sit and gossip with him and whatever, and ask him how he's been, and then they get down to his reasons for visiting. He never comes to visit just to visit. And she knows that, and she accepts that. She knows this about her brother, that it kind of comes off as, I don't worry about my brother because I know I'll see him when it's necessary. But she doesn't worry about him really otherwise. Because she kind of feels like, he can take care of himself, you know. But it's interesting how Fylorn and Annie's paths keep crossing. And Annie is told at one point that she has to save someone who's worthy. And she's like, what in the world does that mean? And the woman that tells her that, she's like, do I look like a seer to you? And she's like, yeah, kind of. You know? Like, she pulls no punches with her. But Annie is another thing altogether. She's very spunky and very sassy. She has no fear. It's funny because she has all this confidence, but she thinks she doesn't think she's confident. So at one point, when she first gets her spirit animal, it doesn't do any damage. It just gets captured. And they go into the city to where the animal was captured, and it's captured out on the water, and they follow the boat that captured her animal and her spirit animal, and they go into the city and they find it. And the guy that has his people have captured it, and he tells her she has two options. He tells her that normally people like her are put to death because they won't let them use their spirit creature malevolently and viciously. And she's like, I didn't mean any harm. It was just doing its thing. And he's like, no, I realize that. You're like a 10-year-old little girl. You don't have the capability yet of doing anything evil or bad with this spirit. But as you get older, you might. So your options are, you can let us kill you, and this creature its spirit can go into its next realm, its next spirit realm, and be free, or we can sell you into slavery. You can be make good contributions to this world, and learn to be a good person. And when you die, your spirit, this little spirit, will go where it's supposed to. And she agrees to the slavery because it's the only one that guarantees she's going to live a little longer. And Tushma cracks me up in this instance because they're in a cage on a wagon rolling along, and she is able to get the creature back into its rest, which is, you know, get it back into her. And she tells Tushma, I got it back. And he's like, oh great, that'll make it easier when we leave. And she's like, what do you mean when we leave? We're in a cage. We're on our way to slavery. He's like, yeah, we can leave whenever we want. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And from there, chaos. So many things end up taking place, and I just don't have enough time to get into it, mainly because I do not have the biggest memory card in the world. But yeah, Annie and Fylorn's paths keep crossing to where they're like, I don't know if he's the one that's worthy of being saved, but they keep going back and forth saving each other, and their paths keep crossing. And like it said, it's a duology, so there is another book. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I will find out, and if it is, I will link not only this book and the next book in the description below. Don't forget to check out the other video that went live today, where I choose the first book from the 100 books of the year. And when I get that run read, I will see you for that video. And also don't forget, this Monday, January 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live with a live stream where I will be making something from here. And what we're making is asparagus Hungarian. So I hope it's tasty at the very least. With all that being said, I will see you guys probably Monday, if not sooner, if I get through the book that I drew from here. So until then, bye.